Welcome to Leaders Gotta Lead. Join our leaders and hosts, Dan Gomer and Scott Harshman, as they bring you powerful strategies and insights to help you lead with purpose, impact, and unstoppable success.
All right, welcome back to another episode of the Leaders Gotta Lead podcast. This is the podcast where we just talk to leaders in all sorts of different facets of life. The great thing is anybody can be a guest on the show because we all lead in some way, shape, or form. So we want to bring on great leaders onto this podcast to talk about what it means to be an exceptional leader. And today I'm super excited to have Jackie Harlow on here. She's a high functioning real estate professional. She's part of the Rialto Partners Group. She is also creating her own organization within EXP. She's been in the business for 15 years. So not only is she helping, at this point, taking her knowledge and experience that she's generated through real estate, she's leveraging that to help real estate agents grow their business, become more effective, get more deals, build a sustainable business. But on top of that, she's also coaching. She's a certified life coach, a certified business coach and mentor. So she's helping small business owners also develop strong businesses and move their businesses forward, whether they're in real estate or not. And so, Jackie brings a wealth of knowledge here. She's run a bunch of groups and started, networking groups and, just been in a leadership role in many different facets, a single mother, all of those kinds of things. And so super excited to talk with you today, Jackie. Thanks for being on.
Thank you, Dan. I appreciate it. And thank you for the warm welcome.
Absolutely. Yeah. We're very grateful to have you as part of our organization. You've been a great resource for everybody. So, yeah, so let's just start out with the usual, right? The usual question, the same question that we ask everybody. What does it mean to you to be an exceptional leader?
Dan, that's a very loaded question.
Yes, it is.
What does it mean to be an exceptional leader? There's so many different ways you can go about that question and answering it. And for me, I believe that leadership is all about growth and it's all about exploration. It's all about curiosity. It's all about listening to those around you and also having a little sense of humility and humbleness to go with it.
Mhm.
Being a leader doesn't mean we're always right. A lot of times we're sometimes wrong. So, being able to be a good listener and understand who you're working with and who you are leading and what your purpose is in leading. Why are you doing what you're doing? And being able to just be around people that want to grow with you, I think is a
Yeah.
big thing. So
Well, and I think that I totally agree with you on all that, right? You're talking about curiosity, you're talking about growth, and I love that word curiosity, right? Like trying to be better ourselves and surrounding ourselves with the right people, and that all makes sense. What do and I think most people would agree with that, right?
yeah.
You got to be a good communicator, and all of these kinds of things that you just mentioned. What do you think holds people back who are in leadership roles from embodying those kinds of concepts that you were just talking about, right? Because if we look at leadership as a whole, and part of the reason why we do this podcast is I feel like there is this gaping hole in like real, true leadership. There's people in leadership roles who don't take it seriously or don't recognize the position that they're in, don't have the skill set to be more effective at it. Like, what do you think holds people back from like really being an effective leader?
And what came up for me when you were saying that is definitely limiting beliefs. I think a lot of people, or I could be one of them in some aspects of my life as well. The feeling of being worthy, not capable, not whatever, fill in the blank kind of thing.
Imposter syndrome kind of
Yeah,
thing.
exactly.
Yeah.
So I think limiting beliefs holds a lot of people back, and this is what I love to do, and I love to bring awareness to my clients, my agents, and also my coaching clients is you are a magnificent human being as is. You were born magnificent. So there's some greatness in everybody, and it's being able to find that inner beauty that we all have and being able to make it shine. And we can cultivate anything if we just believe in ourselves for 1 minute. So long story short, I think I would say just getting the heck out of our own way.
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah. Well, and the word that comes to me is authenticity,
yeah,
right?
yes.
And, I can just speak for myself and my own journey, but what I know is that sometimes it can be scary to be authentic, right? Because we're worried about if we really show our cards, show our hand, right? That everyone's going to leverage that against us or use it against us or judge us or whatever. What advice might you have for somebody who's like, yeah, yeah, I get it, authentic leadership. Uh-huh, yeah, we need to be authentic. But if I'm authentic with my people and I'm not ruling them with an iron fist, they're going to walk all over me. I can't be authentic. Like, what advice might you have for somebody who's in that position who wants to be more authentic but isn't quite sure how to do it?
Boundaries comes to mind. Boundaries is a big deal, and just knowing that we are human and we all have faults. We all have greatness. We all have faults. We're not perfect. And when somebody can walk in their own skin comfortably, I believe that carries a confidence in anybody or brings a confidence that most people can respect, right?
Mhm.
And just I'm just going to stop it right there. I think that's your answer.
Yeah. Well, I think you're totally right. I mean, when we talk about leading groups of people, boundaries are so, so, so important because they create the framework for how we operate as a group. And in fact, I'm reading a book right now that was given to me by another person on our team that talks about leadership from more of like an energetic standpoint. And in that book, um, she kind of talks about how we have to set up the boundaries within ourselves because if we don't do that, then the people who we are leading basically come in and take all of our energy and and eventually what ends up happening is we go down in a ball of flames and we burn out. We can't do it anymore because we're giving and giving and giving or whatever the problem is and we don't have those clear boundaries. It's impossible to function as a high level leader if we don't have boundaries with the people that we are leading because they will suck us dry. Which I know
Yeah.
sounds bad, but
But it's true, though. It's very true. And I think when I say the word boundaries, I mean our own boundaries first and foremost, 100% of the time. Because if you don't have your own boundaries, exactly what you just said, how in the heck can you set boundaries for anybody else?
right.
So, I mean,
Yeah.
that could go a million different ways.
Well, and when we talk about that too, I think that's a great little tangent to go down here because, you just talked about setting boundaries for other people, right?
Yeah.
And why do you think it's important to have boundaries set for other people? And by the way, I just want to put this into context. When we talk about leadership here, we could talk about being a parent. We could talk about leading in a spousal relationship. We could talk about a relationship with a friend. We could talk about business. Like any of these things, these are opportunities to lead. Why do you think it's important when we're in a position to influence or lead? Why is it important to set up boundaries for ourselves and for the other people?
I think that's difficult for me to answer. I mean, my most obvious question or answer would be that it's a necessity. And without it, there's just going to be chaos.
Right.
Um, I think that's the simple answer.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I just think it's an interesting question, right? Which is why I wanted to pose it, right? Because, it's kind of like, okay, great, I need to set boundaries for other people. And there might be some people who are like, yeah, but I'm the friendly leader or whatever. And like that's fine, but we can still set boundaries, right? And without the boundaries, I feel like the wheels, like you said, it's chaos. The wheels come off and when people don't know kind of where they're going, you talked about this earlier, vision and things like that, then they kind of tend to just kind of veer off the rails. But that I think that this goes very well into this concept of leading yourself, right? We're talking about boundaries and things like that. And at the end of the day, I think that's a component of it. But what does that even mean to you? Like, okay, I'll lead myself. Like, what does that even mean to you?
Yeah, you brought up a vision, and when we're setting boundaries and we're rolling with that, um, I believe boundaries are a necessity because it allows you to kind of funnel in what and why you're doing what you're doing. It creates that vision. If you didn't have any boundaries or, even habits to go with that, you're just going to be running around with your head cut off. And I don't care if that's in relationships, as a parent, as, a business owner, so on and so forth. Um, I set a lot of boundaries with my clients. um, I work with them to set boundaries because it helps them to have a clear vision of where they're going. Because if you're like, well, you can go drive this way or you can drive that way, but you really want to go forward, if you don't have those boundaries, people are going to be lost for a while. And so if you can kind of define what it is that you're working towards, then boundaries become natural. This is what I'm going towards. We've all been through the PSI seminars and stuff, the intention versus mechanism. That's a perfect example. When you have 100% intention on something, it doesn't matter what the mechanism is. It doesn't matter the how. It's the why is what matters. I am going to go get that no matter what. And it happens. Miraculously, it happens. There's obviously hard work that goes into that and some planning and things like that. But I love that exercise. And sorry, I'm
Yeah.
going to bring up Psi seminars. I love it.
No, that's great. I love it too. So for somebody who, let's go back to this concept of leading ourselves and maybe in the context of creating boundaries. I think that in order, this is my belief, I think that if in order to set boundaries, we have to have an understanding of who we are.
Yep.
How else do we know what the boundaries are, right?
Yep.
So how do we do that? Say somebody is watching this and they're like, yeah, okay, but how do I, maybe they have problems with boundaries, and they want to set more boundaries, but they don't know how. Where might somebody start, maybe on the self-exploration side of things, to help them be able to set stronger boundaries within themselves and within other people?
Yeah, and every case is so very specific to that person and what boundaries they should or shouldn't be setting. I think an example would be, if I could bring an example to kind of help this bring come together. Like if somebody is like you were saying, well, I'm just kind of a nice person and I don't want to set boundaries. In those instances, a lot of times people are just going to walk all over you. They're going to cross boundaries. They're going to, they may not show up on time. They may not, there's no expectation to actually fulfill anything. So the respect kind of goes out the door. That would be a good place to start. If we're talking someone who's just a nice person, great, be a nice person, but set boundaries. Do yourself a favor and set some boundaries and say, hey, I expect you to show up on time, or I expect you to be here at this place at this time, and let's make this happen. And so when you set the scene and set the meeting or the call, and just give direction, those are also boundaries. Give direction of what's going to happen. It's, again, going back to communication. But when you set that up immediately, then people understand, oh, I need to be here at this time. We're going to talk about this, and then we're going to do this, and then we're good.
Yeah.
So starting small. When I'm with my coaching clients, I'm a huge believer in starting very, very small. I use
With
the
boundaries too, or and what?
yes, yes, everything, because it takes what is 30 to 60 to 90 days, depends on what you're reading, to start a habit, right? Or to change a habit or to create a healthy habit. So I use going to the gym a lot. When you're trying to, and this goes hand in hand, I'm going to go into habits a little bit with boundaries, but when you're like wanting to lose weight, you're not going to just one day be like, I'm just going to give up all sugar, all everything tomorrow. I'm starting tomorrow. How long is that really going to last? Right. But if you set up, again, going back to the boundaries, you set up like, okay, today I'm waking up. My boundary is I am getting up out of bed and I'm not going to set the alarm. And there's your boundary right there. And
Yeah.
I usually say, start there. And if you cannot hit snooze that one day, great success in one day. Day
Right.
two is another little boundary or habit that you're going to try and create. Hey, maybe you'll actually get your workout clothes on, or maybe even put them out. If you want to go that small, you can. Great, you did that. The next day, you start stacking small. So when
Yeah.
you can start creating little small habits, they become bigger habits in your daily routine, which then also helps with your boundaries of like, going back to, if you want to go to the health of the boundary side of things, I want to be healthy and I want to get up and go to the gym every single day. There's so many times where who's the first person off the to-do list, when we have stuff to do, it's like, nope, I'm not getting in my workout today. I'm too busy. Like, we are the first people usually. I could say that easily for me. I don't know about everybody else, but I'm usually the first person that is off that list because
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm too busy. I can't do it. I have to do that. So there's a boundary you just crossed for yourself. So being
Right.
able to say, I am the most important thing at this time in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning, whatever time you want to get up to work out, or even if it's in the afternoon, there is nothing that is going to stand in this time frame because this is my time. I
Yeah.
have a perfect example. I have on my calendar every single day. I have from 1:30 to 2:30 a hold for working out every single day during the week.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, and what you're talking about. I mean, you brought up so many good points. Starting small, right? And I think you said taking it one small step at a time. I call it scaffolding, right? But it's this idea of like, there's a saying in Alcoholics Anonymous, as far as I know, I've heard there's a saying in AA that says you don't have to stop drinking for the rest of your life. You just have to stop drinking for today, right? You don't have to work out every day for the rest of your life. You just have to work out today. You don't have to not hit the snooze button for the rest of your life. You just don't have to hit the snooze button today. And so it's about taking it one day at a time. It's about chunking it down and keeping that focus. If the intention truly is to set more boundaries, if the intention is to become a better leader, if that's the intention, then it becomes a process of micro shifts over an extended period of time that creates those big shifts that we see. I mean, if you looked at me 10 years ago, I was a shit show, right? And I've come a long way in 10 years. But it didn't happen overnight. It happened through like micro adjustments, just day after day after day, just trying to get a little bit better every single day. And so, if somebody's watching this and you're like, yeah, I want to be a better leader. I want to be a better communicator. I want to be a better at setting boundaries for myself and for other people. Okay, great. Start small. What is a boundary that you can do? What is a book you can read on communication? Or a podcast, right? Like, how do we start small just to get started? And once you get started, you'll gain confidence, and that will grow into um, consistency.
Yeah. And one thing that you kind of brought up too, and just brought up a good point, was being present in the moment. And if somebody wants to get started and just doesn't know how, that is 100% a fantastic place to start. Be present in the moment and be aware of what your surroundings are, because you're going to start to see where things can shift, where things are working, where things are not working. And I'm a huge believer in writing things down, journaling it, put it on paper, make it real. because when you actually see it, it comes to life. When you actually speak it, it comes to life. So being able to understand exactly where you're at in the moment and being for living for today, not tomorrow, not 10 years from now, not a week from now, not even in the past. The past is a past. Let's
Yeah.
live for now. What can you do right now to make the next now better?
Yeah. I love it. That's really good advice. Um, so I want to switch gears just real quick here. Um, so I noticed this a lot, especially in real estate, but I noticed it a lot, and even when I was in education, and I'm sure it's prevalent everywhere. And I call it the lone wolf syndrome, right? Especially within leaders. So I'll just give a quick anecdote. I've got friends who are in leadership roles. They're CEOs, they're CFOs, they're whatever. And I recently made it a goal to call them and just be like, "Hey, how's it going? How are you doing? I know nobody ever checks in with you. Like, how are you doing?" And they're like, "Wow, that is so refreshing." Like, literally nobody's ever calling them and saying, "Hey, leader person, like, how are you doing?" And I'm actually very blessed in our organization. I do have people call me and ask me those questions. But part of that is because, I've talked about things like this, right? So anyway, the point being that a lot of leaders, I think, settle into this idea of like, well, I'm in a leadership role, so that means I'm alone and I got to figure it all out on my own. I guess this is kind of a two-part question. Number one, what's your take on that? And number two, can you talk a little bit about maybe the importance of community, or how do we wrap more community in as leaders? How do we leverage other people to be better at what we do? So we've been talking about like leading ourselves. Now, how do we leverage our resources to become better?
Yeah, and I love that, Dan, and I'm so glad we're going to talk about this. It's the idea of, it's lonely at the top, right? I
Yeah.
think I've personally been there. When you hit this place of, and I hate to use the word enlightenment because I'm far from that place, but when you hit that place and you're just like, you need somebody else to talk to, but you kind of seem alien when you're having a conversation with them. You're like, okay, I guess I can't talk to that person.
Yeah.
So when you bring up community, I think that is so huge. And I think that personally.
Hey guys, Dan Gomer here with the Leaders Gotta Lead podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. Hopefully you are enjoying the content, and if you are, I've got great news because there's more where that came from. Just click on the link in the show notes to discover new ways to plug into what we're doing, to find new content that we're putting out, and to discover how we might be able to work together to elevate your leadership game. Just click on the link in the show notes and let's take our leadership success to the next level.
Has helped me in a leadership role to kind of bring me back down to again, when I was saying humility and humbleness, come back down to the ground, get grounded, come back to the people who brought you up to that moment, and collaborate. Community is huge because we all have such different personalities, such different backgrounds, educations, perspectives. We're just totally different, and everybody is built differently. I love, love, love getting to know people. That is, relationships to me are probably my number one love that just makes my soul happy. So I love talking to people. And when I talk, the more I talk to people, the more I collaborate, the more ideas I get, the better I get, the more I grow, the more I learn. So I can go then use those tools and go help more people. So it's only lonely at the top if you're sitting on the top of a mountain by yourself. Get your butt back down on the trail and start talking to more people.
Yeah, I love that. That's such a great analogy. I mean, if you're lonely on the top, it's because you're sitting there by yourself. Like,
Yeah.
the opportunities are there to connect with people. I mean, there was that show that they did that was like super popular, Undercover Boss, right?
Yes.
And basically all that
Oh
was
yeah.
the boss coming down with the lowly workers and like experiencing what it was like. It's like, why are you not doing this already? You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
the opportunity is there to connect with people. And, there's another thing that I'll throw out there. Um, I have felt that for a long time, that lone wolf lonely at the top, whatever. And one day I just said, you know what? Like, I'm kind of sick of that. And I want that to be different and kind of put that energy out there. And since then have in a very short period of time picked up some mentors who have been life changing. Also, I started connecting with other leaders because I thought, well, if I feel this way, they must feel this way. And I've had great conversations with them. And now, we're having back and forth conversations. So there's also other leaders that you can talk to or understand the situation that you're in. But I think the big takeaway for me that I got from what you just said is if you're feeling isolated, that is a solvable problem that is being created by you, the person who feels that way, because the opportunities are out there. It just takes intention to get out and find somebody who is over there where we want to go and go hitch our wagon to them and move forward with somebody who can take us further.
Yep. Get out of your own way.
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Right.
and it's your circles. Who are you surrounding yourself with? uh if there's, it comes down to, if you're feeling lonely in a place, you could be in a household full of people but feel the most lonely you've ever felt. Why is that? Is there a connection? Something's missing. What's the void? What is not working? So being able to again come into the present moment and be aware of what your surroundings are. How am I acting? How am I reacting? How am I feeling? What, with anything and everything that is a part of your life, you can analyze that and you can be aware of it. And breaking it down, not only just being aware of those moments and who's in your circles, but also breaking that down. I highly, highly, highly recommend. A lot of people like to just say, okay, yeah, this is the situation. It sucks. Okay, what about that situation? And what about that situation? And what about that? And keep breaking it down like an onion. There's so many layers to absolutely everything. It's so complex that you can find a simple solution when you just break it down. So if you're feeling a certain way, ask yourself why. Why do I feel like this? What am I feeling? Where is it coming from? Have I felt like this before? Have I been in this experience before? What is it maybe connected to? How can I, get out of this? What is a solution? Who do I need to reach out to for support? That is a huge thing. And having, again, going, who's in your circle, who's your support group? That's the biggest thing. If you're at the top feeling lonely, then dude, I recommend, finding a good support group. Who is that?
Yeah. Well, and sometimes you have to pay for it. You pay for a counselor, a therapist, a business coach, a whatever, right? There are always options out there, even if you don't have somebody at your fingertips.
Yep.
I always have coaches and mentors. Most of them I pay for, right? Because I'm paying for their expertise and they help me move forward. One of the other things that I heard you mention again really is curiosity. Like get curious about it, and if something's not working the way that you want it to work, it's really easy to get pissed off about it. It takes a little more intentionality to get curious about it. Huh, that's interesting. Why isn't this working? And it's in that moment of choice where we deviate. You know, you get two completely different outcomes just by getting curious. And if I go back into my journey, that's where it all started. It was like, okay, I feel like crap. I don't want to feel like crap. How can I feel better? And I hired coaches. I hired therapists. I went to seminars. I went to other trainings. I listened to speakers. I started taking in podcasts. I started reflecting on my life. I started, all of these kinds of things that you just mentioned. I mean, if somebody's watching this and you're like, yeah, but I don't know what questions to ask. I mean, you just asked like 15 of them, right? Like, how do you kind of boil it down and get deeper and deeper and deeper into like what's actually going on within you? Then you can find that authenticity. Then you can start setting those boundaries. Then you can start creating a clear vision, right? Like those are all byproducts of understanding what the hell is going on in the first place. How do we ever know where the heck we're going if we don't know where we are on the map to begin with, right? It starts with awareness. So I think that's very poignant. So thank you for sharing all of that.
Yeah. And I want to bring up too, it's all about perspective. You can be in a situation and the first thing you want to do is get angry or sad or mad about it. But it's all about perspective. So just think about when you apply pressure and to anything, if you apply enough of it, it's gonna either bend, it's gonna break, it's gonna reshape, it's gonna do something. So when something's not working and you're having this emotion inside, that might be touching a hot stove, right? Perfect example. When you put your hand on a hot stove, your mind's like, hello, this is hot. You need to move your hand. Take that in consideration. And again, being present in the moment of how that emotion is, how you are feeling, and what emotion is coming up, sit in that for a second and say, I'm getting angry because this isn't working. Okay, what about the situation is not working? What do I need to do to change the situation? And what can I do to change the situation? There are differences between things that, things that are out of your control, obviously. What can you control and what can you change? So when you change that perspective and you're able to look at something on an outside, third person way, then it helps. It really helps. A good way to kind of look at this is if you've ever had a best friend come to you or a kid or, sibling something, and they're coming to you with a problem and you're telling them this is what you should do, this is what you need to do. They're maybe being bullied or something's not good happening with them, and you're just like, you just need to set boundaries, you need to do this, you need to do that. But when it comes to ourselves, we're just like, I don't know what to do. It's like,
Well, it's easy to see the problems in other people,
yes,
right? I can
exactly.
tell you what's wrong with you all day long. That's easy,
Ex-
right? But then when we
yes,
have to admit what's wrong with us, we don't want to, and so we don't even ask for the feedback.
exactly.
But just asking for the feedback with an open mind and hearing the stuff that you don't want to hear is a very simple, not easy, but simple tool
Yeah.
or strategy that you can use to improve your own life and therefore make you an even better leader in any facet of your life.
That's where the humbleness and the humility comes in. It's life changing if you are able to just, I hate to use the words take it for a second, but it's just take it.
Yep.
I grew up in a very harsh households. I had two sisters and we were very, very strong-willed girls.
What? That doesn't sound right.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But it was really hard sometimes to listen to my sisters give me their advice.
Yeah.
I was very, very avoidant to it and resistant to it. But over the years, I kind of took it in and I was like, okay, maybe there is some truth to what they're saying. So it's you can take it if it's given to you in a very kind, loving manner, fine, all day long. But when somebody's, in your face yelling at you, then there's a boundary that we need to work on, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, we talk about this stuff and, we could go down this path for hours and hours and hours. There's so much in here. And if you're watching this and, you want to connect with Jackie, um, we'll wrap things up here in just a minute, Jackie. But what's the best way for people to get a hold of you if they want to talk to you? And by the way, once again, Jackie is growing a team of real estate agents, and looking for good people who have some experience in the industry but are looking to grow and expand. She's helping people in business grow their businesses and be more successful on that front. She's that third party, right? That can help build people, right? So, what is the best way for people to get in touch with you?
I'm being a realtor, you're all online. I mean, you can
Right.
find me
Everywhere.
anywhere.
Yeah.
Just Google me.
Yeah. Jackie, without a Q, CK.
Yeah, CKIE,
CK.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, a funny story about that. My real name is Jacqueline, and I started using Jackie because nobody knew how to spell Jacqueline. So I was like, forget it. I give
Right.
up.
Yeah. Fair enough. Dan's a little bit easier. The worst that happens is they call me Don, but
Yeah.
um, All right. So just to kind of summarize what we talked about here, I mean, we covered quite a bit, and I think most of the conversation really was framed around really leading ourselves, right? How do we get better with what's happening in here so that we can be better for the people that we're leading in our life? We talked all about leadership really equaling, growth, curiosity, um, you know. Uh, Boundaries. We talked about how important boundaries are with being able to lead and not just boundaries with other people, but boundaries within ourselves. Like we have to start with ourselves first, and then we can set boundaries for other people. We talked about limiting beliefs and having that imposter syndrome that can hinder us from really being authentic because we're worried about being somebody to somebody else instead of just being genuine and authentic. One thing that you said that I thought was really interesting is you talked about how boundaries, when we start to set boundaries within ourselves, it can help us create a stronger vision because we're more clear on who we are and where we want to go by setting those boundaries. Um, uh, we talked about starting small and scaffolding. If you're having a hard time getting started, something is better than nothing. Action is better than perfect. Just take, those first steps. We talked about the importance of collaboration and community, getting out of your own way. You don't have to be a lone wolf. You can bring people in. You can pay for people to help give you advice, to be that third party, to come in and help you grow. And then we talked a lot about like awareness and perspective, bringing awareness to what we're doing on a daily basis and getting curious about what's happening so that we can continue to grow, which gives us a broader perspective, which once again just increases more growth. And so it's kind of the self-fulfilling prophecy. So I know there was a lot more than that, but yeah, that was a tough one to try to summarize in 30
You did
seconds.
good.
Yeah. But Jackie, thank you so much for being on here. I kind of had a feeling that this is where the conversation was going to go today, which is why I'm excited to have you on here. When we talk about leadership, I think a lot of people initially want to think about, well, yeah, okay, so it's like these are the different forms of leadership, and this is how you communicate, and like these are the tools. But the reality is the hammer doesn't build the house. The person holding the hammer builds the house. And so that means that the person holding the hammer, the leader, um, needs to have the drive and the motivation and the skill set and develop the skill set to be better at what they do. And so it really comes down to like all that internal stuff, which I love talking with you about. So I appreciate you being on here and sharing so much information.
Thank you very, very much. And yeah, if I can give some words of wisdom to those watching, find some support. And it doesn't have to be paid. Find somebody that, is a good listening ear and good sound mind, and build a good solid foundation. And this is what we leaders do, is help people build to those foundations. If you
Yeah.
build a house on sand, it's going to crumble.
Yeah.
So your foundation is huge. So you got to seek that support and just know who is in your circle.
Yeah. Well, and I'm just going to give a plug here for you and for the company that we work for. EXP has a fantastic community. And if you are one of those real estate agents, you're like, man, I just need a little more support. I need a little community. I need some people to bounce ideas off of. You've got Jackie right here as a resource. Reach out. Once again, the lone wolf syndrome is a self-imposed prison. You've
Yep.
got people who are all around you. You got two right here who are ready, willing, and able to help you grow in your business. And so reach out to Jackie. Jackie, what was your website again?
Everlastingpurpose.com.
All
So
right.
that's for my life coaching and my business consulting business. So I absolutely love, love, love to help people bring awareness to their lives and to just better their daily routines. And when you start small, there's such huge, awesome shifts that can happen in your life, and everything just seems to come together beautifully. So
Yeah, I love it. Awesome. Well, Jackie, thank you so much for being on the show and for, being so genuine and authentic and really bringing some depth to the conversation today about what it means to be a great leader. I really appreciate you being here. So thank you.
thank you, Dan. I always appreciate you and so happy to be a partner of yours. So It's
Yeah.
awesome.
All right. So that's it for this episode. Thank you so much for joining us. Remember, we're all leading somebody somewhere, even if it's just ourselves. So let's get out there. Let's do the best that we can. None of us are perfect. We're all screwing it up every single day. Let's screw it up together, but screw it up with velocity. Just get out there, find your authentic self, get curious about who you are, and let's all just get a little bit better at being leaders every single day. So thanks so much for joining us. We'll catch you guys on the next one.
Bye.
Bye-bye.